Anyway, occasionally something comes along that is a state or local government meeting where it seems like it doesn't necessarily belong on public comment because it could be on conspiracy bingo. Oh, well, if you... Oh, very nice. Oh, well, Rizinabe. Anyway, whatever. No, Shasta is not imploded again. No. This is the House. This is not the U.S. House of Representatives. This is the New Hampshire House of Representatives, and this is their technology and energy meeting. And a little bird told me that it's about fucking geoengineering. So I heard that it was just cooked within the first couple minutes. So this is sometimes things are perfectly designed for this channel, and it seems like this is one of them.
I wanted to ask you all to Energy Committee. As is customary, I would ask you all to rise and join Representative McGee as she leads us in the Pledge of...
Starts at 3 hours and 30 minutes, really. Oh, here we go.
The United States.
I see, right here. Cool. Thank you.
Now,
Thank you.
it's 1:30, and I would like to now open a public hearing on House Bill 1700-FN, a bill prohibiting...
Remember that number because we're going to hear Jim Lee talking about that number real soon.
1700-FN, a bill prohibiting the intentional release of polluting emissions, including cloud seeding, weather modification, excessive electromagnetic radio frequency, and microwave radiation, and making penalties for violation of such prohibition. And I would like to introduce
I do hate America.
the sponsor of the bill, Representative Gerhard, to introduce this legislation.
This looks like a scene from the X-Files, too. I'm waiting for Fox Mulder to come up and yell at these people.
Good afternoon and welcome to...
Excessive EMF.
Good afternoon. Thank you, members of the committee, for having me today. Let me just first say this. I have never received so much positive feedback from a bill that I've put in.
That's because the people that are right, because when you put in a regular bill, people are like, okay. Then you put up a thing about fucking chemtrails and you get every fucking kook and cooker in your fucking jurisdiction sending you love letters.
People contact me from all over the country. South Dakota senator got in touch with me, among other people. It's been really, really impressive. So I want to thank everybody that came today, first off, and just the support I've had for this. But this bill comes about because of, quite frankly,
Chemtrails
being implemented in our atmosphere from the government under the auspices of countering global warming and increasing rainfall, snow.
Why is this guy a Jim Lee viewer?
And a number of other things that people much smarter than myself will talk about after I step down.
Oh, was Jim Lee one of them?
Quite quickly, that Mexico a year ago banned geoengineering.
Oh, remember I talked to Jim Lee about this? No, fucking the geoengineering they were talking about was some weirdo with a balloon. Do you remember this? Anybody remember this?
And there was an international ban. 190 countries, I believe, signed on to that, yes. And then Mexico last year did it again, reinstituted because of a company, Make Sunsets Incorporated, changing the color of a sunset, and they weren't...
Oh, no, they launched a... No. It was some weirdo in a fucking trailer that launched a balloon with some fucking shit in it.
I just want to read a couple words.
Well, that's where they keep the chemtrails.
And of course, I don't have that up right now. The government of Mexico reiterates its unavoidable commitment to the protection and well-being of the population against practices that generate risks to human and environmental security, working in a coordinated, rigorous, and responsible manner for the well-being of the people of Mexico. And I think that's pretty impressive because there's a lot of things that happen in Mexico that don't happen in the United States. And the fact that they're...
Wait, what? Give some examples. Let's party.
geoengineering more so than the United States is something that we need to take a look at. And especially in light of...
Well, one of the things that happens in Mexico doesn't happen in the United States. Government subsidized healthcare. I don't think it's completely single payer, but I think the government subsidizes everybody's healthcare to a large degree in Mexico.
Damage that is...
That's not what he's talking about, though.
Flooding and other catastrophes that have affected New Hampshire in particular. And I just find... So I don't know if this is actually going to go forward, but I know through the grapevine there was talk of providing a relief fund for farmers that have been affected this year.
Wait, what?
I don't know exactly the status that is, but the idea that the taxpayers in New Hampshire are going to subsidize destruction from the federal government through the weather manipulation is just...
Oh my God.
It's absurd. So that's why I brought the bill forward.
So is this a sign that chemtrails are making a comeback, or is this just like an anomaly in our public discourse?
It's pretty wide ranging, as you can tell, and I don't even want to get too deep into it, but the basic point being the idea of trying to drop chemicals to stop global warming just doesn't make any sense. We need to just step away, let the environment do what it needs to do, and then figure out if there's any need for man-made manipulation of the weather. Hopefully that makes some sense, and if it doesn't, there's a whole bunch of people behind me that'll give more detailed information. I'll take questions if I can answer them. If not, I'm sure you'll find questions before the day's out.
Jim Lee.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Thank you for
Answers.
introducing this legislation. Questions from the committee. Representative Corman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Representative Gerhardt, for taking my question. I imagine that you've read the bill as is and that there's a fiscal note on the bill. The Department of Environmental Services states that it's actually going to have quite a big fiscal impact on that department. I'm wondering if you could comment on that.
Oh, you will? Okay. Well, then I'll let Representative Potenza
He's like, I don't know.
in detail.
He's like, I just wrote the chemtrails bill because I want to be popular on fucking TikTok.
Questions from the committee. Representative Harrington.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for taking my question. On page 1, on getting down, on line 21, it says, talks about regulation by the state, and it talks about all state climate-related appointees must be or have been administered the state oath of office and should fulfill the obligations thereunder to protect state and federal constitutions. What exactly does that mean? What's a state climate-related appointee? Is that defined someplace?
He's like, no, not at all. This bill seems already like it was written by the Google document that I have for Friday.
And what oath that they're not taking would this require them to take?
I believe this was instituted to prohibit state employees from basically working hand in hand with the federal government without letting us, because right now on the books, they're supposed to
Wait, what?
notify the people of New Hampshire when such geoengineering happens. It hasn't happened. There's been no notification. And this
But that's because it isn't happening.
Play the game of see no evil.
Are they supposed to like send you a note every day? Go, no geoengineering today. Bye.
They weren't notified, so they don't have to notify us. And I think what this is attempting to get at is putting them under, well, the oath of...
But do they think that like that the globalists are like going to be deterred by a fucking oath of office? Like, what the fuck is this? Do you promise not to do the bad thing? Yeah, I promise not to do the bad thing. It's in my oath of office. And then they just go and do the bad thing. Like, fucking cops have an oath of office. They're like, oh, protect the community. It says like all kind of nice shit. And they don't do that. They just shoot your dog. Like,
their duty to protect us from what the federal government's doing. I mean, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, then
you trust the government. How cute.
Follow up?
Follow up.
Okay, you mentioned state employees, but this talks about appointees, so it wouldn't be state employees. I assume this is someone with appointees, meaning he was appointed by the governor, confirmed by the executive council, and are they...
This guy didn't write this bill. Yo, this guy didn't write this.
Oath of office.
This guy seems unsure what's in it so far. This is fantastic. Because these like boring bureaucrats are like, okay, so I see this. What does this mean? He's like, oh, where's that at? Well, where's that part at?
I was appointed and I had an oath of office. It's done for everybody. I'm not sure what is this doing that's different, I guess my question is. This doing that's different, I guess my question is.
Oh, man, he's going to go back to the people, though, the chem people, and he's going to be like, they were grilling me. You should have seen it. It was mayhem. The New World Order shills were grilling me.
I just thought it was putting everybody on a level playing field. That everybody has taken oath to defend the people of New Hampshire.
Did you consult with your staff or with the affected government agencies before you wrote this, or were you just winging it?
That's what my impression was.
Representative Kaplan has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative, for coming today. I have a question on it's line 14.
Well, thank you, Bab.
I'll just read it. Due
And if anybody wants to participate in the PlexWiki, you just go to plexwiki.xyz, sign in with your Discord credentials, and then hit either me or Av of Bab or the Media Wench up via DM on Discord, and then Av of Bab will figure out how to give you permissions, and if not, I'll give you permissions. But yeah.
Rising from federal stance and the potential needs for enemies, foreign and domestic.
Also, the wiki was down for a day. I fucked something up.
So I was.
We didn't lose any data though.
Are these enemies, the foreign and domestic, are they the enemies of the federal government, or are they enemies of the state?
Why is all enemies foreign or domestic in this? What is this? Did he cut and paste a bunch of fucking like oaths that different kinds of people take and put it in here? This guy's going to get like annihilated by people who are simply confused by the language of the bill, right? It doesn't seem like they're out to get him. Nothing like that. He's going to be like, first, do no harm. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Where we go one.
Or list somewhere that would define those? A similar question. Is this defined in statute anywhere, or who is going to determine who these people are?
I would say anybody that's altering our environment without the people's permission. I mean, or the people's knowledge.
Oh, no. Oh, fuck. Oh, this is so good. This is so good. Tomorrow, if I have time, I have a lot of shit to do tomorrow. If I have time, though, I'm going to pull clips from this and do like a Twitter thread about this. Because this is fucking amazing.
The idea of spraying a chemical into the air under the auspices of making the environment better, it's absurd. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. So I don't know if that
But you're not answering. Their question is bureaucratic. They may even agree with you in principle. Their question is purely bureaucratic. They're like, okay, so we're looking over this piece of legislation, and we're the group of people tasked with trying to enforce this fucking word salad. Could you answer some questions here?
answer your question exactly, but
Representative McGee has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Gerhard, for taking my question. I had a bunch of stuff highlighted here, but I wanted to talk a little bit about sort of the nuts and bolts of some of the points you have in here.
Oh, he was like he thought everybody was going to clap.
Sure. Let me put my glasses on. You list that the Commissioner of the Department of Environmental Services will immediately issue a cease and desist order upon the discovery of stratospheric aerosol injections, cloud seeding, weather modification, or other atmospheric polluting activity, including excessive electromagnetic radio frequency microwave radiation emissions.
Dude, it's just fucking, this is like Madison Star Moon shit. She hates the fucking chemtrails and she hates the fucking 5G. This is like Madison Star Moon level shit here. Like Jim Lee would probably, I should have had Jim Lee on to make fun of this with me.
An agency, department, office, program, or member of the public produces evidence to the department or to New Hampshire county sheriffs that the activity may be harmful or involves the releasing of polluting emissions. My question is, I did a little research into sort of how cloud seeding or that type of thing has happened in the United States so far. And it's been the states that have been requesting it because they've been, had lower amounts of rain or whatever. So it wasn't the federal government imposing, seeding. And this is saying that we're going to have
Cadillac. You weren't lying when you said public comment is my favorite. You're always like helping co-produce the show. You're like, here's the thing, everybody. Anytime we watch a government meeting, Cadillac up in here, all happy day, here's some information.
Agency heads and local sheriffs be the people who will try and enforce this, but how will they know who's seeding if it's something that's happening that we're not already informed of?
Oh, no. Yeah, that's a good question. This is like secret and being done by the fucking New World Order. She's like, well, if we don't know what's happening, who's the sheriff supposed to talk to?
I'm just trying to figure out how the bill would work.
Indeed. There's a delineation between cloud seeding and then the solar radiation management nonsense stuff they're putting into the skies to block the sun.
The solar radiation management nonsense is actually, he could have just stopped there.
So I think...
Can I ask who is they, though? Because you keep saying they, and I...
Yeah, this guy, this is like a guy trying to do like a YouTube video about chemtrails, except he put it in the form of like a piece of legislation that goes in front of a bunch of boring bureaucrats. They're like, well, we gotta kind of look at every word of this because, unlike the Shasta County Board of Supervisors, sir, we do our job here.
Who is doing it? Is anyone doing it here?
Federal government. If the state was...
I wish we could have got a close-up of her when he said that. But her eyebrows came down just a little bit.
Then they're in violation of even more laws because they're supposed to be notifying us as Representative Aaron's previous bill that was passed 2020.
This lady's like, you know what? Fuck it. She's like, I have a little bit of PTO saved up. I'm out.
21. That was supposed to notify the people of New Hampshire when this was occurring. We've never been notified.
So far, I think we've lost one person. I think literally this lady just got up and left. If she doesn't come back, like she went to the bathroom or whatever, she's like, fuck it. I'm taking the rest of the day off.
But we all know it's happening. Hence the turnout, which is pretty impressive on a snowy day.
No, there's like empty chairs there. What do you mean? They should pan out on the crowd. She's getting popcorn.
Additional questions. Representative Ploget has a question.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for taking my question. Working off Representative McGee's question,
Sure.
Is there any states that looking into this similar type of legislation, or has it?
Yes. Rhode Island. Unfortunately, my notes are a bit messy.
That's because they're an article on Jim Lee's website.
Representative has a list. Among other states, Rhode Island's introducing legislation right now. Tennessee, I believe there's a couple others as well. Iowa, and well, trust me, there's plenty of people here who have been studying this up to the umpteenth degree.
Oh no, he's like, I've got a bunch of conspiracy theorists in the audience actually who could explain all of this to you. That's fucking great, dude. It's gonna be like this, right? Like it's gonna go a little something like
Okay, everyone, it's that time of day. I'm a conspiracy robot now. Must investigate false flag. Nice try, suckers.
Like that's what
Pretty impressive, actually.
Representative Thomas has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So nobody supports pollution of any kind, of course. And I come from the PFAS pollution world of Merrimack. So I see some similarities here. On lines 7 and 8 on page 1, you talk about that it harms human health and the safety, the environment, agriculture, wildlife, aviation, state security, and the economy.
Yeah, they didn't even use the weather machine to send a hurricane here to stop there. A nor'easter, they would call it, right? The people that run the weather machine looked at the bill. They're like, nah. They're like, this looks like Madison Star Moon wrote it. And we don't need to really waste everybody, you know what? Actually take the day off. We're not even going to use the weather machine. Everybody take the day off and go home and watch this.
Sure. One of the problems we've had with PFAS is proof of damage.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's taken us 7 years to get proof.
What is he wearing?
What are you relying on? What statistics?
Like the name tag he's wearing, it looks like he's the assistant manager at a Hyatt or something.
Reports or studies are you relying on to prove?
I mean, that's a perfectly fine job to have, but
For the actual in detail statistics, we're going to leave that to Representative Potenta. But there's been studies on the snowpack and actually finding excessive amounts of aluminum, barium.
Oh,
barium.
Yeah, the fucking Shasta. He's talking about the same shit we were watching on that fucking video from like 2013 at the Shasta County Board of Supervisors. You know, barium, you know, spray them and barium, you know, that barium.
Strontium. Okay, I'm not. So there's actually plenty of evidence, believe it or not. Unfortunately, it's just taken so long to get this off the ground because most people just dismiss it as.
But I thought it was happening at 30,000 feet. But I'll be here all week. Actually, that's not true. I'm taking Thursday and Saturday off.
Craziness, even though you can see it, test for it. Mm-hmm. So I know that's not exactly answering your question, but trust me, before this hearing's over, you will be fully satisfied.
I mean, I'm going to be very satisfied when we cut away from this to watch something else. The problem is that the next thing that we find, there's no way it's going to be able to. There's everybody, like however many viewers we have when we cut away from this, people are like, the stream is peaked tonight. Bye.
Representative Partial has a question.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for being here today. You just mentioned barium. Barium was claimed in the 1990s to be included with chemtrails in order to pacify our citizens. It's a claim that I don't think has withstood any scientifically.
This guy, I like this guy. He just cut through the bullshit, right? Because the guy went to great lengths to probably not say chemtrails in this piece of legislation because he wanted to sound smart. But anybody who hangs out here at all knows what he's talking about. He's talking about chemtrails, right? Like,
You guys, I freaking knew this guy was a phony.
yeah, he won't even say chemtrails.
Ding, 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 ding.
Researched, peer-reviewed research.
Oh yeah, the guy's why is he dressed like fucking like Space Force, not the branch of the military, but like the TV show.
A lot of research on such things as CO2 emissions and the effect of that on our environment, such as what's going on in Hampton Beach.
Almost Hampton Roads.
Now, while I am very concerned about the emissions that come from jet fuel, I really find a lack of evidence towards all these allegations against.
Yeah, that's because it's bullshit. This guy's like, this is like mid-1990s bullshit, dude.
Things such as barium. Do you have any scientific research that you can point to? And
Me personally, no, but my team, yes, we have plenty of evidence. But getting back to the jet fuel, it's not the jet fuel. This is not part of the concern at all. It's the
Nice try, suckers.
of chemicals while these airplanes are flying. There's patents showing the actual spraying apparatus. This is not just byproducts of the burning of fuel. Normal airplanes don't leave. Yes, we'll.
Yeah, this is exactly chemtrails. Like he went to great lengths to not use the word chemtrails. And now he's exactly describing chemtrails.
We'll get back to you on the barium if somebody else doesn't answer that before the day is out.
Representative Munns has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for
Like
taking
a slam dunk competition up in here.
my question. I actually have, it's like a two-part question that kind of follows on Representative McGee's comment about, the nuts and bolts of how this works.
Sure.
You guys are rude as hell, and it's all been duly noted.
I found it interesting that the bill calls out New Hampshire County sheriffs as one of the entities to report these violations to, and it was unclear as to why that wasn't.
Hold on, we got to start this question over. I'm sorry I stopped. This question fucking probably just like absolutely 5 out of 7.
Calls out New Hampshire County sheriffs as one of the entities to report these violations to, and it was unclear as to why that wasn't, why the county sheriffs, why not the New Hampshire Department of Safety?
The county sheriffs are the highest law enforcement officer in the county. They're directly responsible to the people.
So they're responsible for the fucking chemtrail, right? Just for a fucking like a minute and a half of like the flight time of the aircraft. They're like from right there on the chemtrail to right there on the chemtrail. The rest of it, that's somebody else's problem.
People. Obviously, I mean, it comes from the Old English and so forth. But the point being is they actually have a higher standing in the scheme of protecting the people than all these appointed entities. That's why I chose the county sheriffs.
Follow up?
You're like, dude, you're it's not that I don't think that he is a time traveler and read the chat. I think I rate lump. I think you spend too much time here, honestly. No, it's like bad for my numbers, bad for marketing, but I rate lump. There are other Twitch channels where people are talking about interesting things, and then you won't know this, or you won't. So you might have to think about it for a moment. You won't be able to know exactly what the crazy person that I'm watching is saying if you diversify your Twitch diet a little bit.
Follow up.
And then I guess the other question I had was, it talks about if anyone detects any of these pollutants, they have an obligation to report them. Mm-hmm. But is there a standard that they need to follow? I mean, just
if anyone finds a fucking, you're like, shit, what's that on the ground? Oh fuck, I think it's barium. I got to call the sheriff. I don't know. There's an aluminum can. Either it's litter or the chemtrails reconstituted themselves into a can. Got to call the sheriff.
And how do you how do we measure it? If you find 1 part per billion, is that enough to report, or is there going to be a higher standard?
You know what? I want people to be calling rural sheriffs about this. Actually, I'm recording the phone calls because these rural sheriffs, they don't think they're the highest law in the land, right? There's just some fucking old dude who's the sheriff. And so they're going to call the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office is going to ignore them or make fun of them.
Can you
also, just ignore them. I think out in the rural place, I don't think they kill people's dogs. I think it's in cities, but that's not the sheriff. I don't know. I'm just making this up now, but it's less made up than the fucking things that this guy's referencing for his piece of legislation. Bet.
Some light on that.
My position would be to identify the aircraft, and with flight trackers, you can figure out who owns the plane. And then at that point, wait till it lands and you can do testing at that point. Or
wait till it lands and then you can do testing. Well, how's the sheriff going to do that? Most of the time when a plane flies over where you are, it doesn't land in the county you're in. I mean, I live in Alameda County now, and I lived in Santa Clara County before. So, okay, there's a decent chance the plane might be landing in the county that I'm in. But by decent, I mean like if I see a plane in the sky, there's like a 20% chance, 10% chance that might be landing in the county that I'm in. But what is the fucking, like, what is this guy talking about? And how is what is the sheriff supposed to, like, what if the sheriff has to charter a plane and then that plane sprays chemtrails? Now you flew over the next guy's county and he's like, well, shit, that plane's spraying chemtrails. So the other fucking sheriff drives to the airport and charters another plane and that plane sprays chemtrails. Like, eventually you just have a war of all these sheriffs at the place these planes are. Wait, they're not all landing at the same place. What are they doing?
You can do other testing. It's just obviously if there's a plane thousands of feet up, how are you going to say that even if you had a ground-based test, how are you going to say it's from that plane? I understand the complications, but at the same time,
well, no, that's what's complicated about this. Even if it's true, it's like, well, you don't know anything. Actually, that's it. That's the whole thing. You just don't know anything. That's why when we try to evaluate whether or not they're chemtrails, we don't just look up at the sky and decide, right? In fact, looking up at the sky and deciding gets you made fun of by like a lot of people. I mean, I may be the best at it, but that doesn't mean that there aren't other people making fun of you.
planes are doing this on a regular basis. I don't think it would be that difficult to track said plane and wait till it lands, or if need be, force it to land.
You get the sheriff. The sheriff's going to just pull the plane over, actually. Oh, fuck, this is all fucked up. This is so stupid. What if they get the wrong plane?
Representative Corman has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you again. Just following up on that answer, a plane flying over New Hampshire is not necessarily landing in New Hampshire.
Thank you, boring bureaucrat. I'm telling you, I have a feeling the people that are on this board are like, I hope this guy talks forever, because this is the most interesting thing that has ever happened to them, and they get to actually show off their like sort of bureaucratic knowledge.
So how are you going to enforce checking on that plane?
A plane flying over New Hampshire is in our airspace and can be forced to land in New Hampshire.
By who?
Yes.
What was it?
Yes. Follow up.
And
Poor old guy couldn't stop. One more time.
Yes. Follow up.
And what New Hampshire entity is going to force that plane to land?
We'll have to find out which one would be the most responsible. I'm assuming we have the ability to do so if we so chose.
No. Who's we? He's like, we'll figure that out later. That's not important. This is just a piece of legislation that is going to go through the Congress, the State House here, and we're going to put this into law. But like the detail, the thing, like, what do you mean? How does this work? What do you mean? How do we do this?
Representative McGee has a question.
I have a follow up. I'm just listening to everything. I have a copy of the coverage of the prior bill that was passed saying that the measure requires that public input before experiments can be conducted. And so my question goes to, you're asserting that this is happening, right? That you believe that this is happening.
Yes.
And yet we have a law that says it can't happen without letting us know.
Yes.
And so I guess the question would be, and I know you're going to say the people behind me,
Maybe.
but
Oh fuck, dude! They're just roasting this poor. I don't even feel sorry for this guy. Fuck it. This guy bought the ticket. He didn't buy it on a plane though. Didn't want to be responsible for the fucking chemtrails.
how we have evidence of this, because my understanding is that the atmosphere is governed by the Environmental Protection Agency, and they have a clean air Act standard, which has been updated like 28 times since it was first put in place in 1955. It doesn't include these types of pollutants at this point, so that might be an appropriate place for some updates now. But what I, as I was trying to kind of research the issue, it appears that the federal government only authorizes state governments to undertake this type of seeding if and when they feel they are in some kind of danger of not having the rainfall or the snowfall that actually supports their economy. So the decisions around whether someone is allowed to do this appear to be made by the states. And so I'm just trying to figure out how you know something that none of those other entities that are involved in it know.
I'm just trying to pull up the specific answer to your question, which I actually have. So anyway, states banned said spraying, but then in 1976, a law was passed by Congress to allow it at the federal level. What happened was basically
I don't believe this either. What's spraying?
The state's ability to regulate it until at this point, which I think we should reassert our state sovereignty and say, no, we're done with that. The point being is the cloud seeding, I believe, is two different topics going on. So the geoengineering, I'm just now, obviously, I'm probably going to be told.
Wait, no, cloud seeding is a type of Cloud seeding is a type of geoengineering. Not that geoengineering isn't real and that people aren't working on ways to geoengineer the planet and like doing some minor experiments. It's that what's happening now is if you're like, hey, that actually sounds kind of like a bad idea. You ever heard of poisoning the well? Well, the well has been pre-poisoned. So you probably should just find another cause to worry about, because these fucking maniacs have been talking about it in these terms that you'd almost need to make up entirely different nomenclature for all of it. But oh shit, they've already done that 3 times after they got made fun of. So you'd be like on the 4th generation of the nomenclature, and nothing's to stop the chemtrails people from just adopting your nomenclature and then making you look like an idiot. So like, I don't know, feed the poor or something. It's so much simpler than whatever kind of activism you might do around not wanting people to fuck with the atmosphere.
But it's the blocking of the sun and other aspects of it.
I cannot answer that question, Ivy Faye. I'm sorry. I answer most questions, but sometimes I found out that stealthy Fed agent found out where I live. I can't answer that question.
Cloud seeding is simply increasing rainfall or snow or whatever it may be. So the federal government basically said this larger overarching mission is our primary responsibility. And as far as cloud seeding goes, the state.
But the reason the federal government like deals with the thing you're describing, to the extent that I even understand the thing that you're describing, is that many planes go across state lines, especially like jetliners, large aircraft, passenger aircraft, cargo aircraft. Most of these do a lot of cross state lines. We live in California, where the state is almost as tall as it's like, 2/3 as tall as the United States. So yeah, there's a lot of, in California, sure, a lot of these bigger planes are going to be flying from place to place, but also they go to places like Portland, New York. So the federal government is handling this because that would be a thing that the federal government handles based on the flight paths of aircraft.
Because I want to say it was out in Colorado. I was just reading about this last night. They ended up stopping cloud seeding at one of the resorts just because the cost was too high. So, I mean, this is still ongoing all over the place.
Right, but that doesn't have anything to do with the government. They were like, oh, this is expensive and doesn't really spit out that much snow. He's like, look, the tide is turning. People are believing in my theory. They're like, actually, it kind of snows enough here. This is stupid. Why did it drop snow on a place that wasn't our ski resort?
It's obviously when money gets tight, they cut back on certain things. But so I probably didn't.
Out of here. You know, as you do when you run a ski resort, you're running a weather modification program to make sure there's fucking snow on your ski resort. And then you're like, times are a little tough. The first thing we want to do is actually, we'll just get rid of the snow and see how that works for us. You would protect the snow at all costs.
Answer your question, but I'm hoping that someone behind me will fully answer that for you, or Representative Potenza would probably be better for that.
Thank you.
Representative Thomas has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On page 3, on lines 1, 13, 15, and 21, you reference the Department of Environmental Services. However, on line 8, you reference the Department of Environmental Air Resources Division of Compliance. Can you tell me why you called out that line 8 differently than lines 1, 13, and 21?
Yo, he's like, oh man, I hit Control V and didn't actually read the thing that I was pasting over. You got me.
I think it's a typo.
Yeah, I'm not exactly, I don't know how to answer that, only because I know they do specific.
I presented this very important piece of legislation. You're just asking me basic questions about the syntax on a specific page and why it seems contradictory to the other syntax on the page. And I don't know.
It's a typo.
Yeah, I'm not exactly, I don't know how to answer that, only because I know they do specific.
I don't know.
I'm going to just
Excuse
avoid that
me,
because I don't want to answer the wrong way.
You think that's a typo?
I don't want to answer the wrong way. Nothing. You've already answered well, to be fair. This would have sucked if you would have not answered. You're already answering the right way, but not for what you think you're answering the right way for. You're answering the right way for this to possibly be the best segment on this channel this entire week. And it's Tuesday night. That's how you're answering these questions.
Oh.
Yes, because the Department of Environmental Services does have an air resources division.
That's right, yeah.
No, I understand that. But why, my question is, why does he reference on line 1, the Department of Environmental Services, line 13, the Department of Environmental...
They're like, lady, no, everybody's got it. Everybody got it. This guy's a dumb fuck. The lady, we already understand. We'd like to move on to funnier questions, ma'am.
Line 15 and 21, same thing. And yet on line 8, he references the Department of Environmental Air Resources Division of Compliance.
Well, this guy uses a Mac. It's Command V. Command V is cruel sometimes when you're not paying attention.
So why is that specific agency called out separate from the other ones?
My guess is that the Air Resources Division...
Oh, man, I have to pee and I have to pour another drink, and I'm just going to do this as quickly as I can, and I won't... I know what some of you are thinking. I won't do that, but I'll be back. This is going to provide plenty of entertainment while I'm back. Dan Wheelion's in charge of the chat, and I guess our chemtrail dude here is in charge of the stream. Just leave. You really want me to just leave? You just fucking just walk off? And talk among yourselves? You want to do that? I mean, I don't care. Yeah. All right. Oh yeah, I'll play a song. Look at that. I have all this music and I never like take it like at times like this is why it's great to have songs. Like we can entertain ourselves. They're like sometimes your show's boring and we do it anyway. Let's play. Well, I'm not even DJing, but I'll give you a little bit of disco. This is by Kenny Thomas and the Southern Baptists. The song is called Wavelength. And it's just the right amount of disco for our break. that was a great idea. Should do that more. Maybe for 2024, we'll take more music breaks. Taking a break for 3 to 5 minutes every once in a while actually sounds like a great idea. It would be good for me, good for you, good for everyone. Plus, like maybe during the breaks, if you could find their YouTube or their Twitter or their Facebook page or their Instagram, you maybe even leave them a little note. For example, you go find Kenny Thomas in the Southern Baptist, leave a little note somewhere, be like, hey, I just heard you on Echoplex Media. They would, I think they would appreciate that. Anyway, back to the best thing we've ever watched. We'll back up like 30 seconds just so that we don't kind of lose the vibe.
15, and 21, you referenced the Department of Environmental Services. However, on line 8, you referenced the Department of Environmental Air Resources Division of Compliance. Can you tell me why you called out that line 8 differently than lines 1, 13, 15, and 21?
Typo?
Yeah, I'm not exactly.
Ma'am, do you know about Command V on your MacBook?
I don't know how to answer that. Only because I know they do specific. I'm going to just avoid that because I don't want to answer the wrong way.
You think that's a typo?
Yes, because the Department of Environmental Services does have an air resources division.
That's what, yeah.
No, I understand that. But why?
Like, why? Let the guy in the middle have a little fun. The little guy in the middle is like, let's pretend I'm going to help him a little bit. It's ChatGPT.
Why does he reference on line 1, the Department of Environmental Services, line 13, the Department
I don't know. This guy's responses lead me to believe that he hacked this together. Just like the way he's talking about it.
15 and 21, same thing. And yet on line 8, he references the Department of Environmental Air Resources Division of Compliance. So why is that specific agency called out separate from the other ones?
My guess is that the Air Resources Division is where you would register your...
or is that the only guy that agrees with him? The chair?
Directly to them. They're the ones that actually do fine particulate matter analysis. I contacted them before putting the bill in, and they basically said they are not testing for the certain chemicals that I asked them. So,
DES who will be
But
testing.
you asked him, like, you're like, I think there's barium coming out of the jet exhaust. Are you testing for that? And they're like, let me transfer you. Get transferred to like 7 people until the 7th person he talks to. It's just today is not the day. And they're like, sir, don't call back.
Thank you.
Okay.
That will help. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no further questions,
All right,
we want
thank
to
you.
thank you, Representative, for introducing this legislation. And next I'll call on Representative Kelly Potenza, representing Stratford 19.
Oh, are the other people from the House of Representatives going to go up there and roast this guy? I hope they are. I hope we're about to watch other people from the governing body that he works for go up there and roast him. I mean, everything's probably going to be fine unless she opens up with something like,
Jesus and I, we created the whole universe together.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, committee, for hearing my testimony. So I'm speaking on this specifically on the underneath, especially with being a member of Environment and Agriculture.
a member of Environment and Agriculture. Oh, God.
So the toxicity of geoengineering.
Yeah, why isn't she fucking playing a Jim Lee video from her phone into the microphone?
So the toxicity of geoengineering agents is well documented in scientific literature. So there might be many people that are on this committee that are not familiar with it. There's many people that are New Hampshire citizens that have no idea what is happening not just in the state, but literally across the country. And
she doesn't just think it, she says it on camera.
Fuck, I was hoping like that his co-workers or whatever were going to go up there and roast him, but I think it's not that.
The entire planet. So geoengineering is the intentional manipulation, of course, of the weather. It's changing the Earth's atmosphere and polluting the environment. Geoengineering has been going on for decades, and I have found early documents that date back a century on this. The New Hampshire citizens never gave consent to manipulated man-made weather occurrences. Part 1, Article 1.
I wouldn't even be here doing this if people read more.
All government of right originates from the people.
No. I was hoping she was going to go up there and roast her colleague, but yeah, Youth Decay. Stop fucking Youth Decay all like, I watched this.
It's founded in consent.
Just don't spoil any of the funny parts.
And instituted for the general.
And never gave. We do not consent.
Part 1, Article 8. All power residing originally in and being derived from the people, all magistrates and officers of the government are substitutes and agents and all times accountable to them.
The fuck?
Therefore should be open, accessible, accountable, and responsive. To that end, the public's right of access to governmental proceedings and records shall not be unreasonably restricted. And then Part 12. Nor the inhabitants of this state controllable by any other laws than those to which they or their representative body have given consent.
Actually, Washington, D.C. is calling me on the other line. I got to go. Thank you, ma'am.
Such reckless interventions and injury and our infringement on our rights and are extremely damaging to our life and liberty in New Hampshire on this planet. That's Part 1, Article 1.
All right.
So, founded in consent, instituted for the general good. So, I want you to please support this effort to, 1, protect our environment, natural resources, wildlife, and most importantly, the health, safety, and well-being of the people of New Hampshire. The protection of the environment.
Hit DJ Dub D. Don't go look. Actually, you could look once and then just send it to me, and then you just have to watch it all the time. Wouldn't that be great?
And concerns public health and safety must be of the highest priority, not the agency that is supposed to be.
Oh, this was all over. No. If y'all sent it to me first, by the way, don't get it twisted. But somebody tagged me in the Facebook group Kaku. Chemtrails are killing us. They're like, insert government name here. You know about this, right? And then I expected some of them to show up for the show tonight, but then they got here and me and the councilman were like talking about a police chief and they're like, oh, God damn it. This guy's being normal again. Oh, yeah. Hold on. Let me see.
Every shill from Kaku was on there posting all their garbage.
Monitoring this, stating we have no knowledge of this occurring in New Hampshire. I put the packet that had Title I, Chapter 12F, the weather modification experimentation on.
Wait, one at a time. Oh, man. Fucking foiled again by Time for Tinfoil. I swear to you, these people are referencing Jim Lee really heavily here.
In front of each of you. And I'll get back to that. Like I said, we have no knowledge of this occurring in New Hampshire. We all need to work together to pass the Clean Atmosphere Preservation Act. This is not a political matter. It's a people.
That's a caps. I was hoping it spelled something funnier than that.
Matter. We must do more than prevent pollution, especially which it's intentional pollution. Regulations are essential to protect and preserve everyone's right to breathe clean air, to breathe clean, healthy air, and
trying to watch the people like, okay, the one guy's just goofing off. Okay, so there's two people I see on the left here. They're clearly like just looking at shit on their laptop. I think the two next dudes over here, I think they're hungover. There's another guy looking at his laptop. This guy is praying for this meeting to end. Anyway, let's keep going. Like if we had our sitcom, an episode of Soups, we could base an episode of Soups on this, right? Because it wouldn't have to be at this meeting. If we made a fictional like board of supervisors, this could happen there too.
Geoengineering contaminants, including cloud seeding aerosols and radio frequency microwave RFMW.
Yep.
The flat earth BS and the chemtrails should give it away. Yeah, that must be more gallons on his sock.
Radio emissions subject our state and planet to highly unnatural hazards. We, the people, do not consent to these experiments. We're not laboratory animals.
What does she do? Oh, jazz hands.
To stop the releasing of man-made aerosols such as sulfur dioxide, sulfuric acid, which is H2SO4, graphene oxide.
Oh, well, great. Now I know what it is. Thanks for giving us the fucking chemical compound in it. Thanks. Everybody else, you were confused, right? Until she gave you that chemical compound information. Now you're like, oh shit, now, you know what, lady? I agree with you now. Academic window dressing, they call it. She's just not good at it.
Boom! In your face, trolls!
And aluminum oxide, and there's several others, but those are what I'm going to cover today, is grounded in various factual environmental, health, and ethical concerns. Here are the key points supporting the termination of releasing these man-made aerosols. 1, environment.
Hold on, 1. What would 1 be here? 1 is like, here's the first one. 1 is, fuck, I can't find something funny that Madison Starman said. Never mind. Gag didn't work. Oh.
Matt Bowman, Nick Jemison, which are known Kaku whores.
No, that one wasn't that good.
Environmental air pact. Air and water pollution. So sulfur dioxide, sulfuric acid, graphene oxide, aluminum oxide all contribute to air and water pollution, harming ecosystems, soil, and aquatic life. Acid rain formation. Sulfur dioxide and sulfuric acid emissions contribute to acid rain formation, which have detrimental effects on soil quality,
Timmy Komradsky, are you a chemist?
Vegetation, and aquatic ecosystems. Human health. Respiratory and cardiovascular issues. Sulfur dioxide and sulfuric acid can lead to respiratory and cardiovascular problems in humans when inhaled.
Social Deviant, find that shit for me. Put it in the fucking public comment of the Discord. My God. We're like starving for good Tuesday night content. Like this is the Tuesday night. Tonight's pretty good actually for Tuesday. But sometimes I'm sitting here talking about a government meeting to like 26 people. And I love all of you. Don't get me wrong. But like, you know, we got to work on protecting and enhancing my ego around here.
Inhalation of fine particles like graphene.
Oh, you're a chemist. That's great.
Oxide and aluminum oxide also pose health risks.
Do you stream or anything?
Toxicity. The full scale of health effects of graphene oxide are not yet fully understood, but
you blog?
Its toxicity has already been established. And of course, climate change contributing to global warming. So certain aerosols, including sulfur dioxide, can contribute to the global warming effect by reflecting sunlight back into space. While this also has a cooling effect, it does not address the root cause of climate change and has, of course, unintended consequences. Ethical considerations, public safety and health. Governments have an ethical responsibility to
prioritize. What up, your tubing?
Public
health. You're like, I liked the music better when I first got here.
Safety. Releasing aerosols with health and environmental risks and consequences are considered a breach of their fiduciary responsibilities. And then the most important thing I'd have to say, and the ethical, is informed consent. There are ethical concerns about the releases of substances like graphene oxide without fully understanding, and everything else that I've mentioned, their potential impacts. Informed consent of the public is crucial and that could affect health and well-being. Long-term side effects. We have no idea what these could equate to for our, of course, not just our New Hampshire,
so he's killing
our entire country and the planet.
If any of you are on Facebook, join Kaku. It's chemtrails are killing us with a bunch of exclamation points. I know most of you aren't on Facebook, but if you are, it's like a fun place to hang out. Nobody's fighting. Everybody's just everybody's like, the chemtrail people don't even join it anymore. It's just like a bunch of funny, nice people.
So there are alternatives and sustainable practices.
If you're not on Facebook, good for you.
Used to promote cleaner technologies, of course, with what they are trying to do in regards with their geoengineering. That has not even been looked at. Investment in green solutions. The government can invest in research and development. Certain ulterior solutions.
She's just naming things now. Like, what is happening?
Significant environmental health risks. And then there's that the regulatory compliance. So we have to adhere to environmental.
No, but you should join that one too. That one's probably cool, but it's just chemtrails are killing us with no dash.
Environmental regulations, and right now it's basically like the wild west out there. There's none of them, and if a lot of you guys want data, I will provide you with links to everything that's right on DC, right from the White House's their own studies and everything, all the way up until 20.
I have the other White House's their own studies, like documents, everything. Just look it up. You fucking idiot. Oh, this is like actually, this might be the logical conclusion of the chemtrail movement, that it tries to come back up, and they saw sort of how QAnon got its way into government, and they're like, let's get our way into government. And it turns out that the chemtrail people are just too stupid. They're stupider than the QAnon people. I think that's crazy to say. I don't know. Don't quote. Actually, yeah, quote me on that. They're stupider than the QAnon people. At least the QAnon people got some people elected. Like, what's happening here?
I will give you everything that you need. It's right there at your taking. This is not hidden. It's right in front of our. It's right.
So when we went up to the chemtrail summit in Portland, we thought that we could like crowd. I'm not even kidding. You're gonna think I'm stupid when I say this. We thought we were gonna be able to crowdfund to get skywriting. And we wanted the thing in the sky to say, "Surrender, Madison." Turned out we were not going to be able to crowdfund to get that.
Our eyes. So the government, of course, is fully responsible for acting ethically by considering.
The banner one was a little more affordable, but the banner isn't a chemtrail, right? Like
the potential risks and consequences of these substances. So I just want to try to go quickly. Let's just talk about sulfur dioxide and sulfuric acid. Okay, so we already know it's a respiratory irritant. SO2 is a known respiratory irritant. Exposure to high concentrations can cause respiratory problems in humans. Acid rain formation. The release of SO2 contributes to acid rain formation, which have, of course, detrimental effects on ecosystems.
Damn, acid rain. These people are living in the past. We have evolved, and we just drink that shit now. I think the fluoride fixes it. Who knows?
So I don't know if everybody knows this, but if we just go to DHHS, so right now, New Hampshire has some of the highest rates of asthma across the country. With between 2014 and 2016, the CDC estimates putting it as the state with the highest adult asthma prevalence.
Actually, getting anything more than like a word or two written via skywriting is probably impossible because of wind. So surrender, Madison. We would have had to come up with some. Oh, Kaku, obviously. CAKU. Yeah, they could write that. They could write that 3 times. Kaku, Kaku, Kaku.
Asthma affects 13.
But it was, I wouldn't be able to fundraise for it now. And this was in like 2017. We went to this event.
2% of New Hampshire adults, 7.21% of New Hampshire children, accounting for over 4,000 emergency room visits and over 177 million in direct medical costs.
I don't know what the hell
Graphene
she's talking
oxide.
about.
This is taken from a study.
Oh, well, what was the rest of it?
Band gap of graphene oxide can be easily tuned, and therefore it has a wide range of photocatalytic applications as well. The degradation of organic contaminants, hydrogen generation, CO2 reduction. Geo could be a potential nano.
Did we get her name? She's a representative. She's a public person. Can we get her name again?
And drug delivery systems.
I feel like we could watch her interviews, and she's probably cuckoo. Like just whacked out.
Delivery, biological sensing, and antibacterial nanocomposites due to its large surface area and high density, as it is highly functional with oxygen containing.
We got our first fucking person on the board asleep. You see this third from the left? I think dude's asleep.
Groups. Well,
nope. I was wrong.
The meat and potatoes. It has been observed that the superoxide dismutase, SOD, and reactive oxygen species, ROS, levels gradually increase over a period after
This is 100% from Jim Lee's website.
to the biological systems. Hence, specific concentrations are toxic for species
With his
like
hand on his head.
really for our agriculture and making our crops grow, as well as for aquatics, zebrafish, etc.
Zebrafish. Aquatic zebrafish,
This
you know.
is the big one. So
The zebrafish.
fine aluminum
I don't know. Is the zebrafish endangered? I don't want to be like, the zebrafish is endangered, then yeah, save the zebrafish. But I think the zebrafish has things to worry about that aren't chemtrails.
oxide particles may pose health risks, particularly to the respiratory system. I talked about
This is like if the average chemtrail person just read an article from Jim Lee's website. Well, the problem here is Jim Lee didn't really know what the fuck he was talking about when he wrote it. And then the person reading it doesn't know what the fuck Jim Lee wrote. I mean, they're able to read it.
Before. So a possible geoengineering method to mitigate the global warming.
But what if they drop? You see, what if they're training those zebrafish to survive life inside of jet fuel, and then once they are a part of the jet fuel burning process, they become evil zebrafish, and then they land on you. I don't know. They're evil. What, are they going to do anything nice to you? I don't think so.
Aspect of climate change is the injection of aerosols into the lower stratosphere, closely mimicking the way a large volcanic eruptions cool the climate. The method is called solar radiation management, SRM scheme, or simply solar geoengineering. So SRM has been
this is from Jim Lee's website.
Suggested to be affordable and have high effectiveness.
It's affordable.
Other like geoengineering schemes.
Solar geoengineering, the affordable choice. Brought to you by New World Order Corporation.
Have been suggested to mitigate global warming. So while sulfate aerosols are the most studied, it has been recently shown that aerosols with other compositions, aluminum oxide, alumina, and diamond, could be used to dramatically increase the amount of light scatter achieved on a per mass basis.
Diamond? We're going to spray the sky with diamonds, baby.
Aluminum particles found.
Listen, I'm against geoengineering unless it's diamonds. And I mean, we're Americans.
After the alumni aerosol injection are more efficient scatterers and may have less severe technology-specific risks than sulfates.
Did she just get frustrated with the fucking piece of paper in front of her?
After the alumni aerosol injection are more efficient scatterers and may have less severe technology-specific risks than sulfates.
She got frustrated with herself reading the thing that she brought to these people. That what was she frustrated with?
Per unit mass for geoengineering applications. We conclude that there's strong evidence that
I'm a little frustrated.
Irritation following exposure via inhalation or injection, modest evidence of effects for reproductive toxicity following oral exposure, for neurological toxicity following either oral or injection exposure, and for bone toxicity following injection exposure. All other effects were judged to be supported by either limited evidence or no clear evidence at all. Exposure assessment, dose response assessment, risk characterization were conducted for those.
I feel like she's going to be talking forever. I need another drink. I'll be right back.
Modest. The remainder of the section describes our findings.
I have a tequila thing that I want to play when she's done talking, but she just never stops talking.
At special risk, occupationally exposed population. Aluminum has also been regarded as posing a health hazard if specifically when we're talking about dementia and in Alzheimer's. I have some handouts if you'd like. So the condition is most common form of dementia. It may contribute to 60 to 70% of the cases, of course, of Alzheimer. In 2015, dementia affected 47 million people worldwide, or roughly 5% of the world's elderly population, a figure predicted to increase to 75 million in 2030 and 132 million by 2050. Recent reviews estimate that each year, nearly 9.9 million people develop dementia globally. This figure translates into one new case every 3 seconds. So even prolonged exposure to low levels of aluminum leads to changes associated with brain aging and neurodegeneration. And as you know, it's all about the load. So how long you're experienced to that, how many, it's just, for example, for sickness.
May I interrupt you for just a second? You requested 10 minutes. You're now going on 15.
Okay.
And you're wandering away from the subject of the bill. So I'd like you to wrap it up if you could, please.
Okay, but this is the subject of the bill because this is what is in these planes. So I gave you first a copy of what the current weather modification experimentation is. I gave you just a little handout. This here is the platform NOAA Twin Otter payload. That is exactly what the aircraft looks like. That is filled with these chemicals, and it tells you it has all of the it tells you exactly what gets loaded in there. So. And then
She's still talking.
A little bit of history because the document that is from the White House that they just put out is a huge document. I think it's over 70 pages. So
That's not that big a document.
Wasn't going to do that on my printer at home and do 20 copies. But this was from Agriculture Defense Coalition press release. So this was in 2010, and this shows you what they were spraying in the through their SRM and what was happening then. NASA research, study.
I missed the part where somebody was like, all right, this has been a lot of fun.
That increasingly persistent jet contrails may turn into man-made clouds, trapping warmth in the atmosphere. There's a whole slew of things here that talk about this and a lot, and I have tons and tons of links that I can give you. The other piece that I wanted to talk about real quick.
In the name of Jesus, shut the fuck up in the name of Jesus.
So the current 12...
I said wrap it up, and she's like, sure, I'll just be here for another 6 years. I hope that's fine with you.
Document. Let's be clear here. Under 1, any department or agency of the state may, with the approval of the governor and council and within limits of appropriated funds or by means of gifts, donations, or grants, engage in, undertake experimentation in the techniques and methods for weather modification, and may cooperate therein with the federal government, with authorized agencies of other states, and with interested persons and organizations. So now, if we go to at least 2 months prior to the presentation, approval of engagement.
She's like, here, I'm speeding it up.
Experimentation and techniques and methods.
Look how fast she's going now.
Agency of the state participating in such engagement or experimentation shall do the following. Place a public notice and all of that. The federal government is included in this. And just to speak to the question in regards with...
Hold on, is it like...
Anonymous. The cost of this, or there shouldn't have to be any cost. This would be a request. So, for example, this committee could put in a request, or in a sense, a legislative, demand to get for the last 3 years since 2021, how many federal planes, how much geoengineering has taken place in New Hampshire. I think that's where we start to see exactly what has gone on. Now, that should have happened from DES. That's a simple ask. That doesn't need a new salary, a new position, or anything like that. It's about what, for us...
I want you to do this thing, but don't hire anybody for it. My God.
What is going on? I'm in Rochester. I'm very close to Pease Air Force Base. I can tell you that...
Lady, have you ever been to Virginia Beach?
I have a neighbor across the street. She's 80 years old. She has never seen this kind of weather that we've had ever.
But her going, that's nice, honey, when you come over and tell her that the weather machine is making it rain, doesn't mean she agrees with you. It's just she's an old lady and doesn't want to argue with you.
In planes flying and cloud patterns and all of that kind of stuff. And
you go over there. She's like, let me get you some cookies. That's nice, honey. I think I have some cookies. Would you like an iced tea?
She's a graduate of UNH and is very, very keen with the environment. So listening to people, and this is a huge thing. I've had the same thing, contact from all.
I thought you were supposed to be wrapping it up.
From other states. I've talked to people in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Florida, Colorado, New Mexico. So this is a huge issue, and we need to know what's going on here and stop it if it's happening here in New Hampshire.
If y'all are still here, congratulations, because you waited a long time for me to finish that story.
Ooh, she took her glasses off and she's ready for the questions. Look at this.
Happening here in New Hampshire.
Look at this.
Questions from
She's like, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Let's go.
the committee. Representative Kaplan has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative, for coming in and presenting your bill. I also have a lot of concerns about the environment. I agree the weather is changing, the climate is changing, and we know what the causes of that are. It's not contrails in the plains. There's climate change. I'm concerned with some of the effects of the pollutants that you mentioned, aluminum, lead in the air. All these things have tremendous detrimental effects on
She didn't mention lead, but
on the public, and we ought to be doing something about it. With this bill, you claim that you know that this is happening, yet you say you want to find out what's going on. I agree. I would like to find out what's going on. If this is happening,
just generally, we should always be like finding out what's going on, actually. Yes. I'd like to find out what's going on too. What if it's cool and I'm missing it?
It's happening, and I'm not sure you're sure either. So I think really what you want to do is have maybe a study commission where the state requests this information and puts together some of the data that is lacking, and we go from there. But this none of that is in this bill. So my question to you is, why haven't you formed a study commission before coming forward with this bill?
Well, I jumped on this bill as a co-sponsor. I know it's an issue. I do know that it's happening. I'm not talking about contrails. I'm talking about
yeah, but what's the answer to the question? Oh, fucking yeah, that's right. That she's like, you sir are part of the cover up.
Man-made geoengineering that has been going on for decades, to include like literally a century.
Hello, hallelujah, people of God, hallelujah.
So I'll provide every single document that will come from the federal government that will prove to you that they are doing it.
But that's what you should have done before you proposed the legislation. Like, don't propose the legislation to be like checks in the mail.
They tell you that they're doing it.
Right, this is like the checks in the mail version of proposing legislation. We haven't really gotten to the looking into this part of it. We just seemed like it just sounded important.
There's no secret here. So that's to me, I didn't even feel like I had to be on this committee and even argue that. That's a given.
Oh, I'm glad you were here.
There's partnerships right now with the United Nations in doing it. It's happening. So, but if that means a study committee is...
But they keep telling you that none of you have demonstrated that it is happening. They're telling you in different and much more polite ways. Sometimes in very indirect ways, but they're telling you that they don't think that you're right.
It's fantastic, but I also want to make sure I want to know what has been happening in New Hampshire since 2021 when reporting was supposed to be done. If that a study committee will help with that, wonderful. But there was a study committee that took place had everything to do with my committee, with cyanobacteria, and I think the state spent $30,000, and we've done nothing with that. And our lakes continue to be poisoned by fertilizer, phosphorus, and some other entities that people don't.
You're all over the place, lady. I like this lady.
This is
Please tell me she takes a ton of interviews.
This is one of the biggest issues that we're facing right now, and I'm going to provide tons of information for you, the folks over in California, in regards with wildfires and stuff like that.
Oh, she means Shasta County. As soon as she said folks over in California, I'm like, I think I know what folks she's talking about. It's a short list.
That are happening, that are that we know are happening from some of these things that are taking place.
Yep, Shasta.
I'll
We saw in the fucking documentary where they were like, look, the trees have aluminum in them. That's Shasta. It's all comes from Shasta.
get every bit of testimony, every bit of reports.
They should build a wall around Shasta. Cut the internet from there too. Fuck it.
For specifically to New Hampshire, I think we have to. I think we have to find out. And if a study committee is where we go, then great.
Representative Lewicki has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for taking my question, Representative. I just looked up, you mentioned graphene oxides. I just looked up graphene, and according to what I saw, it says it's just a form of carbon. Why would the oxide of graphene be any different from the oxide of anything from charcoal to diamond?
Like, yo, most fucking people who have some background in this and are studying this would be like, I don't think I know that. But don't worry, this lady's not going to do that at all. She's putting her glasses back on and she's going to tell you everything about graphene oxide.
Which would be CO2 and CO.
So I am not a scientist. I read you scientific documents. I will be happy to provide all of that to you just so you can.
You could have provided it to them before this, but actually I thought I thought she was going to tell us. I thought we were going full nanobot here, and I'm not kidding. I thought she was going to tell us that graphene oxide is what they use to make the fucking nanobots.
Understand when you're putting things in the environment and how they impact. I'm not going to be able to answer that question. I'm just not. I will be able to provide you an answer to that question, though.
Representative Noel has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for taking my question. I assume that the pilots and the crew that are putting together these chemicals have looked at the MSDSs for graphene oxide or the
Ooh, that's a material safety data sheet. This guy watches Madison Star Moon.
Oxide or all of the other components, and they've made the determinations as to what the lethal dose is and what the correct concentration needs to be when they go to distribute these chemicals. Otherwise, they would be in violation of OSHA law.
I think that guy's trolling. Yeah, I think that guy's trolling. Yeah, that guy, like, if you're a boring bureaucrat, you don't really get to fuck with people ever. I think that guy's fucking with her.
The federal study that I will give you that just came out in 2024 will show you that there is no monitoring. We don't know any of that information at all.
Yeah, that must be more gallons on his sock.
We don't know who these pilots are or any of that. So this is I
don't know any pilots. Never talked to an aircraft mechanic. We don't know who any of these people are because I haven't personally met them.
Think of it like its own, Space Force, NASA, or whatever. There's an own entity here that's running, that's separate from all regulation. There's no government.
Oh, didn't Fox Mulder give a version of this speech? At one point, he was like, Scully gave the speech. She thinks she's doing the Scully speech, where Scully goes in after a bunch of bad shit happened on the X-Files. And she's like, there is a group of men who are not accountable, blah, 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 blah. But it was a fictional show. And they were all like rich capitalists. That was the only based thing about the X-Files, actually.
Federal regulation in any of this right now at all. That is the reason why like I said earlier, it's like the wild, wild west. So there is nothing.
Representative Munns has a question.
How many times did she take off and put on her glasses every time she's asked a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Come on, put them back on. Put them back on.
I was going to follow up on Representative Kaplan's comments, but I do need to ask you a question in light of what you just said. So what evidence is there that these flights have actually taken place? Do we have any record of takeoffs, landings, flight routes, etc., over New Hampshire?
So there's a gentleman that is, he's a former pilot, former military that has been tracking.
Was it Jim Lee? Jim Lee's not above lying about who he is and what his qualifications are. Is it Jim Lee? Jim Lee's like, he's a fighter pilot.
Planes out of Pease Air Force Base. He couldn't be here today to testify. So all flight records, of course, wait,
you just said, I know a guy who isn't here. I'm not going to tell you his name. So flight records.
This is coming from I'm not a pilot, so I don't know the terms.
I don't even believe that the pilot that you're describing exists. He sounds kind of generic. I think fucking AI would make a better pilot than what she just described. He's like, he was a pilot. He was like important. He's not here today. He was busy doing his pilot thing.
There's different tracking mechanisms that you can see where flight records are and where planes are going.
Yeah, but the fucking thing you're describing, like a clandestine spraying program, you think they're going to like register with whatever authority logs that stuff? God, why are these people? Why? What? Either that or you just have to believe that every plane is doing it. Like there's really no middle ground here.
So some planes, of course, are on, they're just normal, take off.
They're just normal. And some planes are weird. I saw this one that was flapping its wings and it was real small. It was like, a couple feet long. The weirdest plane I ever seen.
Wherever they're going. Then there's a military entity, of course, to Pease, but those are on a different tracking.
I also saw this weird plane where the wing or whatever was on the top. It was spinning really fast and the plane like kind of went up and down and it was like I'd never seen that kind of plane before, but I know it was spraying shit on the crops
as well for all the recorded flights. So there are flights that he has documented that there is no documentation at all.
There's flights. This pilot, by the way, found him at a hipster coffee shop. This pilot, you see, he wasn't able to be here today. He was either flying a plane or at a hipster coffee shop. Those are the kind of two places he is. This lady's so funny. This is great. The first person was, 8 out of 10, 9 out of this lady's great. 5 out of 7.
So they're not showing takeoff, landings, or any of that kind of stuff because he's there. He's been following this for a very long time, but there's many other entities all throughout the United States.
I bet this guy's like getting like $300 a month out of her on the internet by pretending to be her boyfriend.
States that I will connect you with.
Follow up. So I live in Hampton. I live a half mile from the water. I see the planes taking off and landing at Pease all the time. I have never seen a plane like you have described in this handout. So, I mean, are you suggesting that the flights are originating at Pease?
She's like, open your eyes and look up, sir.
I'm not suggesting that they're originating from Pease. I'm suggesting that
she's like, they came from somewhere. I don't know. They're fucking spraying the chemtrails, man. Stop asking me for any other information. It's all secret, but I know about it, but I don't know about it.
Originating from anywhere, but there's been multiple flights where you can see literally emissions coming out of a plane that
it's just the name of the air, maybe PEES or PEE. Yeah, Chris Key flies out of there all the time. He gets a military escort.
It's not a contrail or anything like that. And I don't like to use, I'm not going to use that dirty word that people like to talk about, because then we're all like, this is some big conspiracy, because it is not. And it's been going on for a long time.
Wait, you were... Hold on.
I'm not going to use that dirty word that people like to talk about, because then we're all like, this is some big conspiracy, because it is not. And it's been going on for a long time.
Okay, so what we learned right here, everybody. She's not going to say the word chemtrails, because then everybody will think it's some conspiracy, but it's not. But it's been happening for a long time. This is magic. This is absolutely fucking magic.
Not a contrail or anything like that. And I don't like to use, I'm not going to use that dirty word that people like to talk about, because then we're all like, oh, this is some big conspiracy, because it is not. And it's been going on for a long time. Why would Mexico Mexico ban this? Why is the United States the only one that basically said, hey, we're not going to be part of that, out of 190 other countries that have.
Well, there's more than 191 countries. So we're not the only other country. We were just like boring. Like, lady, this is America. What if I want to shoot a gun from a 747? I think this law would ban that. Lady, this is America.
Have basically said, no, we're not going to pollute with we're not going to experiment on, on our citizens.
So, this is America. We also experiment on our citizens.
So this stuff is happening.
But they're not talking about chemtrails. They're like, I'm not signing this. They're like, what do you mean don't experiment on the citizens? This is America. We experiment on who we want.
Happening. I see planes all of the time that are not just regular planes. So
she said some version of that twice now. I'm just trying to think of what she thinks she's seeing that isn't just a regular plane. What's up, Sassy Sticks? Oh, you missed it. I think this is the best thing we've ever watched.
This is...
Oh, it's still happening, but you missed enough of it that you missed it.
Literally a diagram of it. So that is taken.
Right, but you just have it on a piece of paper. What's a diagram of what? What is it supposed to be a diagram of?
From our government. So this is the NOAA Chemical Sciences Laboratory. They are part of the U.S.
So she's just like doing the rest of the speech, right? Because she's like just reading off of her notes. Like she's like, I don't care what you ask. I'm just going to keep reading my speech. I think these people are getting played because she's not answering the question. Now she's just reading her notes. Those are from the speech she brought.
Department of Commerce. They are also part of the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration and part of the Office of Oceanic and Atmospheric Research Department, NOAA, OAR. So this isn't, I'm not pulling these, making these up.
The fuck?
To follow up on Representative Munn's question, how do you tell the difference between a regular plane and a plane that's doing whatever it is you're suggesting that they're doing?
Well, that's a very valid question because she just I see regular planes and then I see these weird ones. And she's put her glasses back on. Like, what is she talking about?
You can see it right from the ground. So, I mean, I have, of course, pictures.
Right. She's like, whatever. Yeah. He was like, what are you seeing? She's like, you can see it from the ground.
On my phone. They do leave a white trail for a long period of time. And then it dissipates into like, sometimes it's like ribbon.
So it's like a persistent contrail.
Of looking clouds that are, it's really hard to describe, but
we may have to Austin Bennett rule this lady without ever watching her other interviews or anything because she's out of her fucking mind.
There's a document.
No, she's also an elected official. It was fucking great. Fantastic.
That I gave you guys. That's what it looks like.
Okay, thank you. Representative McGee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Representative Potenza, for taking my question. I think we are not environment nag, right? So we don't get a lot of the bills that are about pollution and additives in water and land. I think you guys see most of those. And we do definitely have an issue.
What, did she just get up and leave?
We definitely do have an issue with...
She's like, here, I don't want to take all this fucking shit home with me. She's like, I don't think my ride's here anymore. I have to take the train home. I'm going to give away these papers.
Now that we're all concerned about, and they're kind of hard to localize in some ways, because I don't know if any of you have ever heard that New England is called the tailpipe of the U.S. because the wind flows from west to east, and we get a lot of contaminants from other areas, industrial waste in the Midwest. It flows this way. So my question is, you're naming contaminants, but I am wondering how you know that these contaminants are related. First of all, how do you know that these contaminants are here? And second, how do you know these contaminants are related to geoengineering versus some other way of getting here? Which I would imagine our DES person might be able to speak to that too. How they get here.
Oh, the DES person pissed this lady off at the company party. She's like, I got to make the DES person. I don't even know, Department of Environmental something.
Right, because you're trying to make the connection and say, this is what it's from and this is how we know. So I want to understand how you know.
Look, like this lady is trying so hard to look like she knows things. I know it's just like she's nervous in front of this group, but the problem is if you went up there pretending you were going to tell these people everything that's true about the world, and now you appear to be nervous, you might want to reflect on that a little bit.
So I've got eyes to see, right? So I've seen this. I've seen
Get
this
the fuck out of here
on my own.
Just say, I'm sorry. I don't know. I didn't mean to waste your time today. Bye.
I know I have constituents that have contacted the Department of Environmental Services and received no answer. Their answer is...
Please stop emailing me. Is she wearing a bib? Wait, why is she wearing a bib? Did no one else here notice that this woman is clearly wearing a bib?
DES has no knowledge of anyone spraying chemicals into the atmosphere from aircraft other than exhaust gases.
It's an ascot. You gotta ruin it for me. Wait, here she goes.
DES has no knowledge of anyone spraying chemicals into the atmosphere from aircraft other than exhaust gases from combustion and fuel aircraft. DES understands that some limited testing or research may have occurred in this field, but we have no specific information related to such testing and are not aware of it currently occurring in New Hampshire or elsewhere. DES is aware of the statutory requirements contained in RSA 12F.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not looking into it. There's been multiple constituents that have called on this, that have asked for it to be looked at. So all I know is that I have eyes to see. I know what they look like. That is what.
So it just keeps coming back to like, look up and wake up. Look in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. Oh, it's a plane. But look, it's spraying a chemtrail.
From the NOAA, it tells you what gets released into the atmosphere. And that's really when it's in a sense, it's playing God is really what it comes down to.
This is okay. So let's think about this. Just say you're sitting in your living room or your bedroom, or in my case, in my studio, and somebody is like, there's a saber-toothed tiger under your studio. And then you take them seriously. So you're like, well, there's a crawl space under the house. There's a saber-toothed tiger down there. I suppose I should send someone with some firepower down there. So you find Tila Tequila. She's like, here, I got you.
8mm pop, pop.
And you send someone into the crawl space under your house, and there's no saber-toothed tiger there. And then that, coupled with the widespread knowledge that the saber-toothed tiger is extinct, would lead you to believe that there's no saber-toothed tiger under your living room or under my studio. But for these people, the fact that there was no saber-toothed tiger in the crawl space is evidence that big crawl space is actually hiding the saber-toothed tiger.
We're messing with things that we shouldn't be messing with.
Time traveled, and then it time traveled back once you tried to investigate it. What is it, Schrodinger's saber-toothed tiger?
affects everything from ecosystems to people's health to all of that. But if we can find out that information, then we need to find that out.
Follow up.
So
this is a law. This is the spray around and find out law of 2024.
It's a little scary to think that people are messing with things they may not understand the outcomes of. I agree with that. I have that same feeling about geoengineering. I just think that we're trying to prove a negative here, right? We're saying that
Just end the meeting. Fuck it. End the meeting. Just be like, I got other. This was entertaining for a while. I got other stuff to do. Get out of here. I got to pee. I got to pour another drink. I'll be back.
Any activity. And they should
Make her leave. Bring on the next maniac. My God.
Provided any real evidence of activity. And so I'm just trying to figure out if you understand how the system is supposed to work, right? Any geoengineering that's happening in the country is authorized at the federal level and requested at the state level, which means we have to assume that the proposal that you're putting out here is that someone other than those entities, somebody is deciding to seed the clouds over New Hampshire without anybody's knowledge. And I don't know how you want us to go along with you on that, because somebody has to be behind it. And so is it the federal government? Is that what you're trying to say, that the federal government is doing this to us?
Correct.
Without our input?
Correct. That's as clear as day.
Well, the record of all of the geo-seeding that's happened in the United States has been at the states' requests that had that geo-seeding, though, whether it's California or Colorado, the places that are listed as the places that have had it.
Called it geo-seeding.
Remember, Representative, we're not here to debate.
Well, I'm just trying to get an idea.
Oh, I'm so glad we did this tonight. I was like, should I save this for conspiracy bingo? But no, this is perfect for tonight, because this thing that we're watching is like the reason that we do public comment. This is a little more formalized, and it's specifically about chemtrails, but it's not. All right, I'll shut up. Sorry, heck, all the things.
Idea, because I don't know how
you're
the process would work.
You're talking about where a state, and you're talking about something separate. So you're talking about if a state is requiring or asking for the federal government to do something, to do some cloud seeding in regards with that's happened in multiple places that have been affected by drought, and all of that. That's not what we're talking about. So we're talking about.
We need an emote that says "Let him cook." We need a "Let him cook" emote.
Literally, the federal government that is doing full blown.
Not him. That's EM. Let him cook. 2 words. Let him cook.
Experimentation, and it's all. I'll send you every single document that you need. It's all right out there for you to find. And in my press release that I did, that has been picked up everywhere. Right on www.whitehouse.gov, congressionally mandated report on solar radiation modification. That's what this bill is. It talks about SRM. So
she's like grabbing at random sheets of paper on her desk when she's at, it's not even her desk, it's someone else's desk.
It's a huge report. And then I'll give you studies from, actually Dartmouth has a study. UNH is familiar.
Animal Lion. The thing about that is they just don't have a choice. They're like, you got to fly people from San Francisco to New York. That's great. You got to drop aluminum over the Midwest. Why? That's classified.
With this, I've already talked to my folks over there. I have someone that's willing to pay after rainfall when we have witnesses that are seeing a lot of the cloud formations that we're talking
but
about.
That's what. Wait, what are they paying for? We're like, hey, we see a bunch of clouds. Wouldn't you know it? It's raining now. Like, who's paying for what? Like, nothing happened there. Should put like a GPS locator on the clouds.
about from aircraft.
Air tag.
To test the ground and to test the rainfall afterwards. So there's a lot of people that are very, very interested in this. However we can prove this to make it happen, but when it comes, this is the federal government.
Wait, however we can prove this? Well, that's not really... I'm going to win by whatever means necessary. Well, you're talking about a thing that happened in the future. What if you lose?
There's nothing's being regulated. This is all based upon experiments.
Wait, what?
Representative Ploget has a question.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for taking my question.
Ma'am, is there an adult who is supposed to be looking after you?
I'm going to segue off of other reps. Now, I can see the weather changing in my lifetime. In this committee, I hear it's CO2, methane. We've taken sulfur out of our diesel fuels. We've taken the particulates out of our diesel fuels. And what I heard today from testimony that we're putting sulfur dioxide,
Yeah, Lady B, you're not. But you missed some shit, Lady B. This is cooked. This was real. Lady B, you may want. I'll publish this. Actually, I'll put this out on YouTube. We're gonna tempt fate and put this commentary out on YouTube. Maybe tomorrow. I have a lot of shit to do tomorrow. The day after tomorrow. This is pretty good. This is pretty good.
Graphite, carbon, in the air. Now,
look at the two. It's kind of center right, like near the end of the table. He's like hoping to get abducted by aliens. Look at him. He's like,
these same things are attributing to health.
The aliens didn't abduct you.
Our citizens. So, my question is, if there is a study committee, you can provide documents. It's a question. Can you provide documents to prove or identify where this is happening?
I like the guy putting on his glasses. I hope he's doing it to make fun of her.
Thank you.
Representative Thomas has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yo, this is the best we have. When was the last time we watched something better than this? Because this is pretty fucking good. This is like Jacob Wall on the fucking the steps of that brownstone good.
So this bill starts off in the air, literally. You're talking about planes and everything. And then on page 4, it kind of brings it down to the earth, where you're talking about facilities.
Lady B, when you weren't here, I was like, why is she wearing a bib? And everybody's like, that's not a bib. A lady's wearing a bib.
Towers and antennas. And you're saying that any facility, tower, or antenna that uses ionizing radiation has concentrated energy transmission.
Yeah, you're going pretty far. That's over a year ago, right? We watched My Son Hunter like over a year ago. We weren't on Twitch for it. This is of the quality of the spray truck incident, but we weren't here for it. So it doesn't, this is like of the quality of the time we were here when they stole the door, except they've been stealing the door for several hours.
Exposure to people. Could an unintended consequence of this bill be that it could shut down Seabrook power stations and 5G towers?
No. So if, let me grab I have a piece of paper on that. And of course, if there needs to be an amendment to this bill in any way, because, it's not perfect.
All right. Page 1 rewrite of our chemtrail bill.
It's kind of a monster of a bill. And we have...
I bet she believes in monsters. That's why she's wearing a bib. In case she has to kill and eat the monster.
A lot of experts help with this, with its crafting, of course. but that it could be changed. You know, if there was any.
I'd kill and eat a monster if I had to.
A follow-up. Oh, do you have an answer for this?
Yeah. So I just wanted to, I wanted to let you know that folks that are all about 5G, 6G, and all of that.
Oh no, she's like, wait, what? No. Oh no. Oh no. We're going in a completely different direction. 6G, and that's like not like, remember anybody that was into dance music like 10 or 12 years ago, you couldn't get away from that sample about a G6. Anybody remember that sample? Do not utter the words.
Stuff, which is, you know, the huge corporations like Verizon and all of that, they all support this because this has interference with their frequencies. So what's happening when you are making it like a
Sassy Snicks, be quiet. Do not utter it because it'll get stuck in everybody's head, and they'll get mad at me if I DJ later and don't play it because I don't have a sample of that anywhere.
Aluminum dust, heavy metals that are taking place in the atmosphere. It also affects that. So Verizon, AT&T.
But none of us would have thought to have brought a bib, right? If you'd eat, I might eat a Bigfoot steak. Yeah, like nobody else ate Bigfoot. You can lie to me and tell me that shit is Bigfoot, and I'll pay an extra $3 for it.
Actually, quote them. So even Verizon and AT&T define what we're referring to as pollution. To be clear, we're not, worried about.
Yeah, but Verizon and AT&T define everyone else's transmissions as pollution.
And like we talked about, we're looking to regulate airplane engine emissions. Have some, and then we're not looking. That's the other thing is like everybody keeps talking about domestic airplane engine emissions, and that's all disingenuous. But
wait, why?
Verizon and AT&T to come out.
Wait, well, what do you mean? What? It's just disingenuous? And she's like, but I'm going to go back to the 5G actually, because I don't know what the fuck I'm saying.
And say that this is pollution and it affects their operations is quite big.
Okay, follow up. Thank you. And on page 4, line 26.
Put her glasses, but like, what is? She's nervous, but she's trying so hard not to like. It's so weird.
Code 360. Can you tell me what that is, please?
No, you probably can't. Page what?
It's page 4 of the bill, line 26.
Like, you're supposed to be here to talk about. I almost forgot they were talking about a piece of legislation. I forgot too.
Any vibration, noise. I think that's laser, not Caesar. Is Caesar? Okay.
The spelling of the word laser in this. Yo, come on. I know, like, if that was the only thing wrong with it, but the fact that they just put an L where an S was supposed to be in like a document that they're like, hey, let's make this a law. Again, if that was the only problem with it, I'd be like, well, fix that and fucking resubmit it. But no.
Sonic weapon or other physical agent exceeding other official limits, guidelines, or standards such as E Code 360. What is that?
I'm sorry, what line are you on?
It's line 26 on page 4.
Okay. So I can provide some of that information to you. E Code 360 that's a federal code. So as you know that our
wait, why did you why are you submitting it? Never mind.
Has been developing and has for decades as well. Sonic weapons.
Like, but you're supposed to be sonic weapon. You're supposed to be here to talk about a piece of legislation. I don't know what, I think this is like a committee level thing that somehow got broadcast. Oh, it's a committee level thing that got broadcast to the public. This isn't going to make it through committee, whatever it is.
laser weapons, all of that from satellites and everything that you could possibly imagine.
Laser weapons and all that, from satellites. They're supposed to be here. Oh, my Lord Irons, thank you for subbing. They're supposed to be here to decide about the law of the state of New Hampshire, right?
So, there's a document, and I'm pretty sure it's from UCLA, that talks about how, and this is getting very technical.
No. Hold on.
Talks about how, and this is getting very technical, where the satellite coordinates, of course, with what's being released in the atmosphere, and that actually creates, in a sense, kind of a weapon environment with what's being released. Where how, and this is getting very technical, where the satellite coordinates, of course, with what's being released in the atmosphere, and that actually creates, in a sense, kind of a weapon, an environmental.
So you see, like sort of near the center of the screen, you can also see this. You can see a couple of people trying to talk to each other here. What are these guys whispering to each other? Like to the right of the people that are clearly talking to each other, it looks like this gal's like leaning in to say something to this guy. She's right under the American flag. Like what is being said? Like sort of just above her and to the right.
That is taking place too, but this is way beyond my pay grade. I went to school for communications. I'm a minor in public relations. I'm hoping.
Oh, you're bad at that too.
Doing great.
Thank you.
So,
Representative Corman has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for taking my question. I'm a bit concerned about some of the assertions that you've made. So you said that sulfur dioxide.
She's like page 1 assertions. Like, why is she looking through this documentation that she printed off of Jim Lee's website? Like this is weird.
Dioxide and sulfuric acid are causes of asthma. You stated a link between aluminum and Alzheimer's, and I took the liberty of going to the American Lung Association site, and they have a page called What Causes Asthma, and it lists family history, allergies, viral respiratory infections, occupational exposures, smoking, air pollution, and under air pollution it says exposure to the main component of smog, ozone.
Oh, they said air pollution. She's just going to say it's the chemtrails.
For asthma.
But maybe he's baiting her to say that. I hope he is.
And then obesity. Nowhere is anything about sulfur dioxide mentioned.
you just mentioned it. You just mentioned air pollution. That's
the chemtrails.
what we're talking about.
Well, you
We are
mentioned sulfur
polluting our air.
dioxide specifically, and there's nothing here about that. And then I'm also at the Lung Association site, Alzheimer's Association site, and it says, and I'm quoting, no convincing relationship between aluminum and the development of Alzheimer's disease has been established. So are you contradicting these
And
authoritative
she's like, yes, of course. They work for George Soros and the Rothschilds.
sites?
I'm not contradicting, but I'll give you other authoritative sites. Everybody wants to say they're an expert on everything, but I'm going to give you literally other medical sites that state high toxic levels of aluminum and that load, how it does have those types of effects.
Yeah, but no. You're talking about a fucking snow sample taken from Mount Shasta in like 2010, lady. I know exactly what you're talking about. They can't even pretend they took a snow sample somewhere else.
Which it has other types of effects as well. Aluminum has effects with respiratory as well. Aluminum has effects with neurological different components, especially in young children. So,
but it has effects. It's one of the most common elements. It's like why is all your shit made out of aluminum?
Yeah,
so to the even like you take what she's saying at face value. the elements in our environment affect us. Well, yeah, I guess so. There's a lot of aluminum everywhere. Sure, it affects you, I suppose.
Everything that you need in regards with
Yeah, it's everywhere.
leading cause of
Literally fucking everywhere. So if you want to try to correlate like one thing with another, be like, look, there's aluminum everywhere here. The shit's fucked up. Must be the aluminum.
Second leading cause of lung cancer is in the country.
According to who and no?
We ask the questions of you, not the other way around.
Okay, so it's radon. So in
Wait, no, kick her off. Get her out of here.
Actually, that's why if you want to talk about cancer rates and all of that kind of stuff here in New Hampshire, we have a huge problem. And that's not just with radon in the water, that's radon in the air. So
New Hampshire also has an aging population.
I'm very familiar with those types of pollutants.
Okay. Representative Potenza, I want to thank you for your testimony and give the last word of this public hearing to Mr. Craig Wright of the Department of Environmental Services. Once Mr. Wright has spoken with us, we're going to recess this public hearing until Monday, January 22nd.
Everybody remember, that's Monday, January 22nd.
Why not, instead of you guys...
Wait, what's happening?
Recess this public hearing until Monday, January 22nd.
Was anybody tripped out? Like I thought, like when this lady walks in from the right side, she like disappears behind the overlay. I forgot there's like an overlay here. I'm like, what happened to her?
Well,
thank you for drawing the big heart of it. Well, it'll be ripe and ready for another public comment.
Who asked for 10 minutes spoke for 50.
Oh my God. Ooh. the representative was like,
oh my God, this feels like forever.
She took up all our time. I'm not going to stop somebody who's a fellow representative. So, Mr. Craig Wright, please take the...
They're yelling at this guy from the audience because like this lady was supposed to talk for 10 minutes. She's been there for 50 and they're stopping her. You wonder if you could imagine the chemtrails movement never really went anywhere, never gained mass appeal.
Stand here. Ask why not, instead of you don't have another bill after this, you have an executive session or a work session, right?
We do. We have both. And
the guy's like, we have other shit to do today, lady.
We have members who need to leave. So we're going to ask Mr. Wright to give us his perspective on this proposed legislation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, Craig Wright. I serve as the Director of the Air Division at the Department of Environmental Services. Pleasure to be here today. There's a lot in this bill, as you've heard already. I think if you read the fiscal note that the department wrote, I think it's clear. Is this better? Okay, sorry. DES does not have expertise, knowledge, or any other information regarding the subject topics of this bill.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, he's like, that's bureaucrat speak for, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Nor do we have any information regarding potential health impacts or environmental impacts. DES, as noted in the fiscal note, DES does not have the staff resources to research, monitor, or enforce the provisions of this bill. We would need to hire technical staff, investigative staff.
Good on him for trying to get more people hired, by the way. Like, I mean, if you want to do this, you're going to have to give us a bigger budget. Good on him. I like him.
enforcement staff. Regardless of all that, and I think this is also noted in the fiscal note from the Department of Justice, I would question whether, even with this bill, the state would have jurisdiction over things that may be federally regulated. This type of work is not typical to the work that DES performs under our air pollution control statutes, RSA 125C, or the Federal Clean Air Act.
All right, I got to pee. And then unfortunately, we're going to have to go find something else to watch.
Quality standards, it's the state's responsibility.
Once I saw this, I was like, we're doing this all night because I saw that it was 5 hours. But now we're going to have to find something else to watch.
Quality with respect to those standards.
Sarasota had a meeting tonight, though. I'll be right back.
Develop plans, policies, programs to ensure that the state meets those standards. We need to submit such plans to EPA for approval. Also, in reading the bill, I would think that there's things that we would need to consult with the AG's office on regarding the enforcement provisions, including issue and cease and desist orders. There are emergency air pollution episode provisions of 125C, but I don't know that that would qualify as a cease and desist order. I would have to consult with the AG's office on our ability to notify federal agencies of doing things if authorized by the federal government. And the same goes with notifying foreign states or international bodies of potential activities under the bill. We have another number of technical issues with the bill regarding some of the specific provisions. I'm not sure how we would implement them. I'll just use as an example, the bill states DES shall post advertisements in newspapers and other websites encouraging the public to monitor, measure, document, and report. That requirement is unclear to me and not very specific. I don't know how I would satisfy that requirement without further guidance. It talks about submitting photographs, videos, audiography, lab tests, microscopy, spectroscopy, metered. Unsure what DES would do with those pieces of information. I don't know that a single photograph of an airplane in the sky would be evidence of anything. I guess the only other thing I would say is with respect to the resource load of this bill, there certainly is no revenues associated with this bill, and I can guarantee you that I do not have the staff to do that without a revenue source.
Thank you. Do you have any estimate at all of what it might end up costing to enforce?
He's like, no, this stuff is all imaginary. It's like asking the Parks Department to how much it would cost to take care of My Little Pony.
The provisions of this bill, what it might cost the agency?
Given our lack of expertise and knowledge in this area, I think we estimated in the fiscal note it could be upwards of 10 staff. I can't sit here today and say I can guarantee that. Could it be 5? Maybe. Could it be 15? Maybe.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the committee? Representative Munns.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for coming in. I think you already answered the question, but I want to just be very, very sure I understood you correctly. To your knowledge, there are no published reports that document any of what we've heard has been happening in New Hampshire. There's no documentation of that available that we could review.
I personally am not aware of any such reports that are peer-reviewed scientific studies. I've heard it mentioned here today that such reports exist. I am not aware of them, and I do not have them.
Follow up.
Please keep your comments to yourself. Thank you. Representative Munns, you need a follow-up.
Follow-up, yeah.
No, do public comment right now. Fuck it. Let everybody in the audience come up and say their say.
That they be forwarded to us, but that they be specific to experience in New Hampshire. I'm not really interested in knowing what happened in California.
I mean, I am. I live here.
Additional questions, Representative Thomas.
It wasn't really a question.
As someone who works in the Department of Air Resources, does New Hampshire? I'm sorry. Oh, the director. Sorry. In New Hampshire, do you test for sulfur chemicals and graphite chemicals
So
in the air?
thank you for the question. In New Hampshire, we operate a network of, I think, 13 monitoring sites. We monitor for sulfur dioxide at 3 sites in New Hampshire, one in Pembroke, one in Toppapack, Monadnock, and the other one in London.
Yeah, but why doesn't your phone monitor for friend?
Ozone at a number of sites.
Why do our phones not monitor the sulfur in the air?
Across the state, we monitor for certain ozone precursor organic compounds at 2 sites in the state. I could certainly provide to the committee what we monitor for and where we monitor it. Representative Gerhard mentioned.
Seems like he's got a pretty good idea of what's going on.
For a particular matter,
which is a little bit refreshing, but also totally boring.
3 of those sites are filter-based sites. We do not monitor those filters for chemical composition. We simply weigh them for the amount of particulate matter that is collected. We're measuring all those up against what we call the federal national ambient air quality standards.
Follow up.
Follow up.
And are you seeing an increase in any particular component?
In general,
Thank you. Sorry.
long-term pollution trends for the pollutants that we monitor for are decreasing over time.
Oh shit, that's actually good news.
Decreasing over time.
Not only is this guy like knowledgeable, but he was able to give a little bit of good news for specifically for the people in New Hampshire.
This past summer with the wildfires up in Canada, we probably saw some.
It's a graphene filter. You're hiding it from the public.
Very extreme PM events, particularly to our south and west, not necessarily here in New Hampshire, but
by PM he means pizza minor.
And we prepare periodically an annual what we call State of the Air report, and I can certainly make that available to the committee as well.
Thank you. Representative Kaplan has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Wright, for coming. To follow up on Representative Munn's question about your knowledge of ongoing programs in the area of geoengineering going on anywhere in the continental United States, do you have any knowledge of such research programs going on or carried out by the federal government dealing with airplane emissions having to do with geoengineering? Have you seen any, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Agency, any federal agencies doing that kind of research?
Your question's too long.
I'm not aware of it. I haven't seen it. I haven't looked for it, though.
Additional questions for Mr. Wright. Representative McGee.
Thank you. Are you that Mr. Wright? No, I'm just kidding.
My mother always told me I'm Mr.
Oh, we
Wright.
could use a little break. That's good.
You can ask my
boo.
So my question, oh, that's funny. See, you had the last laugh. That's great. Okay, so my question goes back to something I was questioning before, which is that a lot of times we have folks come into the committee room who aren't really sure how there are many systems involved and many people making decisions up and down the ladder, and everyone isn't always aware of that. My understanding is that the state of New Hampshire would have to be consulted if there was going to be any type of geoengineering over us. And so I would like you to chime in on that if you're aware of that in terms of just the governmental hierarchy.
I can't say that I could.
You don't know.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, because this isn't like a thing that anybody's really talking about outside of the chemtrails community. Yeah. He's like, I don't know. Geoengineering? What?
Fine.
I
just thought I should ask. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, I want to thank you.
I think we can cut away from this.